We are the God Talk guys. Michael Koran,
Yep.
Michael Mack, on A Human Among Humans, which is Michael's show, something that he has been doing for how many years now have you been doing this?
Maybe a dozen.
Maybe a dozen years. That Michael's been doing this show on Cambridge Community Access Television, CCTV. So we're here to talk about all things related to God, all things related to that great mystery of which we're all a part. So, got any questions?
Well, we went to...
We did something this week.
Yes, we went to Catholic Church and saw a video about Father Keating.
Father Thomas Keating.
Thomas Keating.
Yep.
Who was a Trappist monk.
Mm-hmm.
And an expert on silence, a lover of silence.
Yes, yes. Well, this meeting that we went to, this prayer meeting that we went to was at St. Paul Catholic Church. It was my Catholic church in Harvard Square, at the corner of Bow and Arrow and Memorial Drive. No, Bow and Arrow and Mount Auburn Street.
Yes.
And
It's St. Paul's, right?
St. Paul's.
Yes.
Yes. And this is, I'm not sure actually if it's a weekly or a monthly meeting yet. This was our first. But it was a meeting that was centered around the idea of centering prayer, which is a form of prayer that Father Thomas Keating has been a strong proponent of. And one of the members there had just recently, within the last couple of weeks, had a session with Father Keating, and so came back with some DVDs and also some answers, and I guess the fruits of every answer, which are more questions. So we watched a DVD, Michael and I watched a DVD of Father Thomas Keating talking about centering prayer, and then we got the basics on how to do it, and then we did it for about 20 minutes, which is the recommended time. And tell us what happened during your experience of centering prayer.
Well, I fell asleep for most of it, but I had been up till 8:30 in the morning.
Yes.
The night before. I just had not slept.
I've not slept at all the night before.
No, and I took a little nap, and then that was it for the day.
Okay.
So I was tired, but I could get little flashes of how his smiling face and what things he was saying seemed very good to me. Although it did put me to sleep, so I wondered. Because afterwards, when we sat on the church steps, I felt much more alive again.
Yes.
So I didn't know if it was coming back to Catholicism. I had been away for a long time.
Because you had converted to Catholicism.
I never considered a conversion, but other people could. I considered it...
Were you baptized?
Yes.
Okay.
But you'd have to come from somewhere to be converted, maybe. I never thought I was leaving. I was a Quaker, and I was born a Jew, and I never thought I was abandoning that. Actually,
Well, I don't think that...
conversion
The only thing
does
that... I don't think so. I mean,
No.
I think conversion, the idea is you're leaving your previous life and entering into a new life.
I didn't think I was doing that.
Really?
I didn't think I was leaving what the absence of Judaism I had, and certainly not I talked to the...
Well, you can't ever fully, truly leave an old life.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a part of you for as long as you live.
Yes.
It's sort of like getting a haircut, baptism.
Yes, tell us more, Michael.
Well, it just so happens that it's pretty common in religious traditions around the world that when you leave an old life and enter an order, you get a haircut.
Yes.
It's because it's one of the most profound changes that you can make to your appearance.
I understand.
So you're leaving. So the old hair that you're leaving behind on the barbershop floor represents your old self, your old life.
I didn't think of that. And I actually spoke to Father, I think his name was Thomas McDonough, and told him I was a Quaker, and he said that was okay. Because Quakers sit in silence, they don't have anything that they particularly commit to believing. Maybe nonviolence.
it seems to me that there are some basics that they commit to believing. I couldn't tell you what they are, but I think that the idea, at least, that if you approach God, especially in community, if you approach God, that the Holy Spirit can move through you
Yes.
to let you speak the Word of God.
Yes.
If you approach in the proper way.
Yes, very nice. It's close to centering prayer.
Yeah, very much so. So, can you say what centering prayer is, or shall I?
You can say it, and you can and you could YouTube it. There's a 7-minute YouTube video with Father Keating, and the words are on the screen also.
Mm-hmm.
That can give the basics of centering prayer.
Okay.
But why don't you give it to us anyway? I'll try to do it while you're saying it.
Okay. We'll see if you can stay awake for this.
Yes. It's a challenge.
Okay. Well, my understanding of centering prayer is this: that we become still, that it's helpful to close our eyes and to become aware of our breath, our body, the sounds around us, sensations passing through our body. And then we choose a word that to us is holy, a word that to us is meaningful, that is packed with a lot of import, I guess. So we pick a word and we say the word internally. And we say the word again. And as we continue to say the word, our minds being what our minds are, and consciousness being what consciousness is, we'll start thinking about stuff. We'll start remembering stuff. We'll start imagining stuff. We'll remember stuff that we have planned to do. We'll think of somebody who we have to get back to. And all manner of things will come to our minds. But each time, we simply bring the practice back to saying the word internally. In a gentle way, in a loving way. And it's not something to be done with any kind of force. It's something to be done with gentleness and awareness. And so this centering prayer, this word, becomes the center of our prayer. And as we pray in this way, we'll find that usually we start to slow down, that our minds start slowing down, and that we relax into the present in a way that we otherwise, during our busy days, don't really get to do. And that's when something mysterious happens. Because if we are open to it, something that is very much a part of who we are and what we are, but is also not quite us, enters into our consciousness, enters into our presence, as we open ourselves up to it. And my understanding, and I'm no expert, but my understanding is that what we are doing is opening ourselves to the presence of God, to the presence of that part of ourselves which is most central to who we are, most who we truly are, a part of us that has been with us for as long as we've been alive, but something that's easy to miss in the hurly-burly and busyness of our lives. How's it going over there?
I am fighting sleep again.
Oh. Well, I noticed a little bit earlier when we were preparing for this and we were talking that you were yawning.
That was of something else, yes. I mean, I had not eaten today, so that's
Okay.
a little challenging.
Okay.
But I was having somehow getting into this prayer brings sleep to me. I don't know why. And it's just happened again, because I like the idea very much. And I was trying to repeat love, or last week it was heart. I think I'm almost certain it's every Thursday at 6:30.
Is it weekly then?
Yes, it's weekly.
Okay.
Yes. If they could call, there's a wonderful man at the desk named Richard, right?
Richard Whitney.
Richard Whitney, yes.
He's just there for a couple of hours a day. There's somebody who is there more full-time earlier in the day.
So this prayer, which I like the idea a lot, doesn't it? Worked for you, yes? You liked it?
I do like it. And it's not unlike my own personal prayer practice. So it felt familiar to me, and it felt I really enjoyed listening to the way that Father Keating talked about it and talked about everything. Now, I could not repeat anything that he said because I simply don't remember it.
But there's many videos on YouTube. 7
Get
or 8
online.
at least, yes.
Get online. It's all there.
Father Thomas Keating, that's all. And then there are many, some of them long and very interesting, and reminding me of many theological sentences when I studied theology at the University of Chicago.
Well, Michael, getting back to what you were saying just a moment ago about falling asleep, I wonder if there are times that in doing a meditation or doing a prayer, the thing that we need to know more than anything else is that we're tired and that we should sleep.
That could be.
That's something, if we're tired and we're sleepy, that's something that needs to be attended to.
Yes.
So that we can move on to the next stage,
and
the
there
next
might
level.
be something that it reminds me of that was very enervating is the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking life from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming back to, it's like coming back to one's parents, coming back to Catholicism and trying to discover what was wonderful, what is wonderful in it, and what are some parts of it that don't work for me. And listening to Father Keating talking about, and he tries to be very sensual. We had one example of, this is my memory of it. You can find out how true this is by going to YouTube. That one way of understanding the silent prayer is someone's having a birthday party and they brought you a bouquet of roses and they've hid it to surprise you. And you go into this room for your birthday celebration and you smell something. And he said, centering prayer can be like that. You smell something very sweet, but it's you, and so you know something very sweet is there, and then you have to wait a while to discover what that is. I thought it was very nice.
And what makes sense to me is to continue on with that analogy.
Yes.
Is that the rose is infinite. That the rose is like the 1,000-petaled lotus, that we can go deeper and deeper and deeper into it, and that there is it's a bottomless well of, some would say, love, a bottomless well of being.
Or just looking at a rose and focusing on
Well,
it.
I was thinking about the scent of it.
Smelling it.
Yeah, you just get closer and closer and closer to it. And I like to use the metaphor of calculus.
Yes.
Which may or may not be the most spiritual model, but hey, works for me. But in calculus, when we're talking about limits, you never reach the limit. You can get closer and closer to the limit, but you can never quite get there. You can only go deeper and get closer. But that's the way I think about this mystical experience of God, or this mystical experience of consciousness or self, that we can always go deeper. There's always another step to take. But it's infinite, and there is no end to it. There's no end to what we can discover. I think. I'm no expert. I'm just talking.
Father Keating talks about oneness, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
That God is a oneness. And he said he begins one of his talks with saying there are many onenesses, which is very nice. It's a oneness of atoms, a oneness of molecules. So it's like a field, as in physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's many onenesses, and when we feel like you and I feel one, that's a oneness. If I feel oneness, but I can feel just a oneness with myself, for starters.
Well, in a way, that's the only oneness there is.
Oneness with me?
There is only your consciousness. There is only the experience that you have of everything that's happening, period. I mean, it's one of the mysteries of being that everything that you and I are experiencing right now is part of one thing. You're a part of my mind, Michael.
Yes.
This studio is a part of my mind.
Yes.
My heartbeat is a part of my mind. All of my experience, my sensations and feelings and imaginings and memories, it's all part of one thing. It's all part of my mind, all part of my consciousness. And the mystical experience can be simply a coming to awareness of that.
See, that's one of the things that hurt me as a Catholic, these beautiful things you're saying. And I had to go to Israel and work on a farm for almost a year and learn Hebrew, and in Hebrew the word for bullshit is ata philosoph, you're a philosopher. So I had to really begin, which is a process I'm still doing, learning to dance at my age, begin to be physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard the word mind, at least the way I'm hearing you using it, it seems to take away from the physical for me.
Well, let's not get lost in semantics. If
Right.
there's another word that makes more sense to you,
Well, body mind would
consciousness,
be
body-mind.
See, body mind would be much better for me.
Okay.
If you'd say that we're all part of this body mind experience or field, whatever you call it, as long as the body's in there as well as the mind,
Okay.
then I'm much happier.
Okay.
Good.
Be happy.
Okay. Oh. So, this is a question for me. I learned meditation, Buddhist meditation, which is the focus on breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And the mantra and you could use a mantra if you wanted, but the heart of it was to just be aware of your breathing. I wasn't very good at that either. I used to love trying to do that and let my mind wander, actually. And there are other meditations where you just look at somebody or look at something and just let we could let you come into us, or even the screen if we're looking at even the camera. So that's a big difference, to pay attention to breath versus paying attention to a word, yes?
Yes and no. I think that the key in what you're saying is pay attention. Pay attention to one thing. And that is at the heart, that is at the root of every meditation, I think, is bringing awareness into one central point.
And the centering prayer is to inviting God to come in, yes? That's way different than how I used to think of meditation.
I don't think so. I don't think it's different at all. We're using the word as a focus.
Yes.
And returning to the word again and again
Yeah.
through whatever happens, through whatever experience that we have of memory or imagination or sensation or whatever, and simply returning to the one thing. And whether we are using a mantra, or we are using something that we gaze at, or we're using our breath, It's all about coming to the one thing. And coming to the one thing brings us closer to that experience of oneness that you were talking about a little bit earlier.
Right. It seems to me, sensitive person that I sometimes am, that wanting to get an experience of God while meditating is way, way different. It's wanting something. Whereas the other meditation was not wanting anything except maybe wanting to pay attention to my breath and not be distracted. So that was, it's at least to me, I'm really, okay, I'm meditating, I'm centering prayer. I want to feel oneness with God. Is very different than, okay,
well,
I'm just focusing on my breath.
Let's use Hinduism and yoga as an example.
Yes.
In Hinduism, and again, I'm no expert, this is simply from my readings over the years, that there are several approaches to God. And one of the approaches is through what they call bhakti yoga, which is the yoga of devotion, which is very similar to the devotion that is that we use in Christianity, in Catholicism, that we have the God or God embodied through Jesus as the focus of our devotion, the focus of our love. So, but again, the whole idea is that we are bringing the focus down to one point, one image, one idea. But there is also in yoga or in Hinduism, I think it's called jnana yoga, which is more like the yoga of the intellect or the yoga of the mind. And I think in that kind of practice, we're much more likely to find breathing practice as a way to bring the attention to the one, bring the attention to oneness. I mean, when we're talking, there's something that's easy to get stuck in, and I think that that's the idea of God. And in order to have the experience of the reality of God, we have to get beyond whatever ideas that we have about God.
Or words.
Or words. Or anything.
I guess the words seem so important to me also. But,
words.
and when he said oneness, I like that in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tricky for me if oneness includes my hands, right? Oneness really includes everything. It's like a jazz concert.
Mm-hmm.
It includes you, your face, our TV audience, and so on. So, and there's a danger for me, maybe not for Father Keating, that I get focused on the oneness and forget about it's really everything. It's all of my feelings and thoughts, all of my sensations and
Mm-hmm.
experiences.
Mm-hmm.
That's and then calling.
But that's part of the oneness, isn't it? That's part of your experience.
See, I've been so hurt by many traditions that I have to be careful. So even calling it oneness, I mean, I can be at one with you, feel at one with you. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much, to some degree I can now. I can, but when I call it oneness, see, it's a big difference for me. When I'm feeling at one with you is something very nice. I'm feeling the oneness between us. It's a very different. It feels like it's distorting things to me.
Well, here's the question that I have for you. How important is that word to you?
I have discovered that the wrong word, as Orwell said with politics in the English language, the wrong word can really set me in the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I thought love was spiritual and not my actual heart and not actually, something happening between my hand and your shoulder. When I spiritualized love, that almost killed me because my physical desire for touching got lost in that understanding of the word love being a spiritual thing.
Well, here's what makes sense to me.
We only have, unfortunately, 2.5 minutes.
To come up with all the answers
No,
to all of the questions that we've raised?
Joining us. No, you're right. This is a journey we're taking with people.
What makes sense to me is that we have to be very careful about meanings and words.
Yes.
That words and meanings are packed in with our imagination. and come with a lot of baggage. So a word is like a parcel. A word is like a piece of luggage. And you open the luggage and there's all kinds of stuff filled in.
Yes.
And there's nothing like the word God just to be a monstrous, huge bag of stuff.
Whoa. Yes, that
But
too.
I think to what we're after as everyday mystics is the experience of God. And the experience of God is something I would propose is beyond the word. Something aside from the word. Something aside from an idea that we have.
For sure.
Yeah.
Some kind of very special experience. People
Yes.
call it sometimes cosmic consciousness or
Yes. And an experience that we can...
aha moment sometimes.
Yes. Aha. A human among humans.
Yes.
Aha moments. And an experience that not only we can have and say, wow, that was amazing, but we can say, wow, that was amazing, and take it out into the world and have some good come from it.
I was sitting with some friends at the University of Chicago and felt this special feeling at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really because I was with them. But I took it from them and said, oh, now I'm feeling God.
Yes.
And that was sin means missing the mark. I missed Chuck and Lonnie because I got very carried away with the experience. So that word experience of God took me away from the people that were helping me have this very nice experience.
It's so mysterious. How much time do we have?
10 seconds.
Sum it up, man. Say it all.
You've just asking for that. That was wonderful. On that happy note.
Thank you, Michael.
Wow.
Thank you, guys.
That was